It's Friday morning. You wake up, you groggily grab your phone from the nightstand, and you open your banking app. And there it is, the direct deposit. For about a 48-hour window, you feel a massive physical wave of relief. Your shoulders drop. You mentally calculate your rent, your bills, and you think, okay, I'm good. I actually have a little breathing room this month. You might even treat yourself to a nice dinner that night because, hey, you earned it. But then we fast forward. It is now exactly 14 days later. You are standing in the checkout line at the grocery store, opening that exact same banking app, but this time your heart is beating a little faster. You are staring at the balance, completely paralyzed, wondering how the hell you only have $86 left. You scroll through the transactions. You didn't buy a Gucci bag. You didn't finance a yacht. It's just a $12 lunch here, a $30 Amazon purchase there, a recurring subscription you forgot to cancel. You didn't do anything crazy. You just existed. And yet, the money is gone. Again. If you search for help on YouTube right now, every financial guru on the internet is going to scream the exact same toxic advice at you. Stop buying the $6 iced coffee, cut up your credit cards, make a stricter, color-coded spreadsheet, and track every single penny. Here is the exhausting, unspoken reality. You have already tried that. You've downloaded the budgeting apps. You've told yourself this is the month you stop eating out. You have relied on sheer willpower to try and force your life into a neat little mathematical box. And when it fails, because it always fails, you don't just feel broke. You feel stupid. You feel like a child who can't manage their own life. That feeling right there? That is financial shame. It is a heavy, suffocating weight. But I need you to hear me clearly right now. You are not stupid, and your problem is not a lack of discipline. The brutal reason you cannot save money, the reason you keep ending up at zero every 2 weeks, is because you are making a fundamental error in how human beings actually operate. You are trying to solve a deep, biological, psychological problem using a purely mathematical tool. Budgets are math. They require logic, spreadsheets, and endless willpower. But spending? Spending is emotion. Spending is dopamine. Spending is your exhausted nervous system trying to buy 30 seconds of peace after a terrible day at work. A spreadsheet cannot fight human biology. The math will lose to the emotion every single time. So today, we are throwing the spreadsheet in the trash. In this video, I am going to pull back the curtain on the invisible, psychological casino that billion-dollar companies have built to drain your wallet without you even noticing. And then, I am going to give you the exact blueprint to escape it. I call it the friction shift. It is a system that makes saving money an automatic inevitability, and spending money agonizingly hard. If you want to stop feeling the panic of the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, turn your phone on Do Not Disturb. Let's get to work. Think about the last time you bought something that you swore was going to change your life. Maybe it was a really expensive, perfectly tailored blazer that you convinced yourself was an investment piece for your career. Maybe it was a completely new $300 aesthetic skincare routine. Or maybe it was just a matched, neutral-toned Pilates set and a premium glass water bottle. I want you to be brutally honest with yourself for a second. Did you buy those things because you desperately needed them for your survival? Or did you buy them because you wanted to become the type of person who uses them? This is the first and arguably the most dangerous psychological trap keeping you broke. It is a concept called the identity gap. We like to believe that we are rational consumers making logical purchasing decisions based on utility. We are not. Most of the time, we are not buying physical items at all. We are buying a bridge between the person we currently are, exhausted, stressed, feeling a little behind in life, and our fantasy self. Your fantasy self is that hyper-productive, perfectly styled version of you that lives exclusively in your head. She wakes up at 5 a.m. She never hits snooze. Her apartment is minimalist and clean. She has healthy boundaries at work, and she always looks effortlessly put together. When you see a targeted ad for a stunning trench coat or a sleek productivity planner, You aren't looking at cotton, polyester, or paper. You are looking at a promise. The marketing whispers to you, if you buy this, you will finally feel like you have your life together. We spend massive amounts of money trying to physically wear the aesthetic of the person we want to be. But here is the brutal reality of the identity gap. Buying the matched workout set does not actually make you a disciplined person. Buying the CEO aesthetic wardrobe does not fix the toxic dynamics at your actual job. When you finally put the clothes on, or when the planner sits on your desk, the temporary illusion shatters. You realize that you are still exactly the same person you were yesterday. You still have the same insecurities. You still have the same procrastination habits. The only difference is that you are now slightly poorer. The item couldn't magically transform your identity, so it just gets pushed to the back of the closet and the cycle starts over. And to understand why that cycle is so hard to break, we have to talk about your brain's chemistry. Specifically, we have to talk about the most misunderstood chemical in your body, dopamine. Most people are taught that dopamine is the chemical of pleasure. It is the reward you get when you do something fun. That is fundamentally incorrect. Dopamine is not the chemical of reward. It is the chemical of anticipation. Let's walk through exactly what happens when you are lying in bed at 11:30 p.m. scrolling through your phone. The algorithm, which knows exactly what your insecurities and aspirations are, shows you the perfect product. You click the link. You add it to your cart. In that exact moment, your brain releases a massive, euphoric wave of dopamine. The thrill, the rush, the excitement, it all happens right now, in the moments leading up to the purchase. Your brain is literally getting high on the idea of who you will be once this item arrives. But the second you double-click the side of your phone to confirm the payment, the transaction is over. The hunt is finished. The anticipation vanishes. By the time that brown cardboard box actually lands on your front porch 3 days later, the dopamine is entirely gone. You rip open the tape, you look at the item, and instead of joy, you feel this weird, hollow emptiness. You might even feel a little bit of guilt. The item no longer holds the magic it had on the screen. It becomes just another physical object taking up space in your room. And because your brain actively hates that hollow, crashing feeling of dopamine depletion, it immediately starts demanding a new hit. It wants you to open the app and start scrolling again. You are trapped on a biological hamster wheel, running as fast as you can, and billion-dollar tech companies are perfectly fine-tuning the speed of that wheel to drain your bank account. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I know this. I am a rational, functioning adult. If I know the marketing is a trick, and I know my brain is just chasing dopamine, why can't I just say no? The truth is, you can say no. But usually you can only say no until about 5 p.m. There is a well-documented concept in behavioral psychology called ego depletion. It essentially means that your willpower is not a permanent personality trait. It is a finite resource. It works exactly like the battery on your smartphone. When you wake up in the morning, your willpower battery is fully charged at 100%. At 8 a.m., you can easily ignore the overpriced coffee shop. At noon, you can easily say no to the expensive takeout and eat the lunch you brought from home. You feel in control. But you are bleeding battery power all day long. You use a massive chunk of your willpower to sit in rush hour traffic without losing your mind. You use another chunk to smile and nod politely when your boss sends a passive-aggressive email that undermines your work. You use another chunk to push through a tedious, mind-numbing project that you absolutely hate. The emotional labor of just surviving a modern workday is staggering. By the time you finally unlock your front door at 6:30 p.m., your prefrontal cortex, the logical, disciplined, decision-making part of your brain, is completely and utterly fried. It is blinking red on 1% battery. Your brain literally does not have the biological energy required to regulate your impulses anymore. And this is the exact vulnerable moment when modern society attacks you with something I call weaponized treat culture. You open your phone and the messaging is everywhere. Treat yourself. You survived the day. You deserve a little luxury. You've earned this. Over the last decade, marketers have brilliantly hijacked the language of therapy and self-care, twisting it into a justification for financial self-sabotage. When you are exhausted, spending $40 on a DoorDash order or $70 on an impulse online purchase does not register to your brain as a bad financial decision. It registers as emergency nervous system regulation. You are essentially paying a premium just to feel a fleeting moment of comfort after a deeply draining day. You are trying to buy back your peace. So when you look at your bank account at the end of the month and wonder why you failed again, you need to stop blaming your lack of a spreadsheet. You aren't failing at math. You are fighting a highly sophisticated war against your own biology at the exact time of day when you are the most defenseless. I need you to understand something fundamentally terrifying about your modern financial environment. The game is rigged. You are walking into a meticulously designed, invisible casino every single time you pick up your phone. Think about how a physical casino operates. There are no clocks on the walls, there are no windows to show you that the sun is coming up. And most importantly, they do not let you gamble with actual physical cash. They make you trade your hard-earned money for brightly colored little plastic chips. Why? Because human beings have a deep psychological attachment to physical currency. If you had to put a crisp, physical $100 bill on a blackjack table, your brain would hesitate. It would scream at you to stop. But throwing a plastic blue chip onto the table? That feels like a game. It doesn't feel real until you are walking to your car at 3 a.m. Over the last 10 years, tech companies and retailers looked at that casino model and realized something brilliant. They needed to turn your everyday life into plastic chips. They needed to systematically eliminate something behavioral economists call the pain of paying. When you hand over physical cash, the pain centers in your brain literally light up on an MRI scan. Your brain registers the loss. You can see the money leaving your hands. You feel the stack of bills getting thinner. But think about how you buy things today. We have moved from cash to credit cards to saving our credit card numbers in our browsers to the ultimate frictionless trap, Apple Pay and Face ID. You are scrolling through social media, admiring a perfectly curated aesthetic. Maybe it's that effortless, quiet luxury vibe, the neutral tones, the minimalist apartment. And you see a sweater that fits that exact mood board perfectly. You click the link. Your phone scans your face. A little blue check mark pops up with a satisfying ding. The transaction is over in less than 2 seconds. You didn't have to get up. You didn't have to open your wallet. You didn't even have to type in a shipping address. You literally just looked at your phone, and $80 vanished from your bank account. When the transaction is that frictionless, your logical brain never even has the time to boot up and intervene. You have been completely anesthetized to the pain of paying. You are bleeding out financially, but they have given you so much Novocaine that you can't even feel the wound. And that brings us to the second pillar of the invisible casino, the subscription hemorrhage. A decade ago, if you wanted a piece of software or a movie or a fitness program, you bought it once. You owned it. But corporations realized that relying on you to make a conscious choice to buy something every month was too risky. They needed to bypass your decision-making process entirely. So they switched to the recurring revenue model. And they did it because they know a massive flaw in human cognition. We are terrible at calculating annualized math on the fly. When you see a charge for $14.99 a month, your brain categorizes that as a microtransaction. It feels completely insignificant. It's just the cost of a salad. So you say yes. You subscribe to the premium editing app, 3 different streaming services, the aesthetic coffee bean delivery, the cloud storage, the exclusive community membership. Individually, they are all $14.99. But collectively, you are hemorrhaging hundreds of dollars a month in invisible, automated background noise. It is financial death by 1,000 paper cuts. You are bleeding out in your sleep because the money is leaving your account before you even wake up to check your balance. Now, this is usually the exact moment where people tell themselves a very specific, comforting lie. You look at your drained bank account and you think to yourself, this isn't a spending problem. This is an income problem. Once I finally get that promotion, once I finally negotiate that raise and break into the next tax bracket, then saving money will be easy. I just need to make more. This is the most dangerous trap of all. It is called the arrival fallacy, and it is entirely fueled by lifestyle creep. Let's say you actually do the work. You navigate the corporate politics, you stop falling for the nice girl workplace traps, you assert your value, and you finally land that massive promotion. Suddenly, you are making $20,000 more a year. Logically, you should be taking that entire $20,000 and dropping it straight into your savings. But that is never what happens. Because the second your income goes up, your baseline definition of normal goes up with it. You tell yourself that because you have a higher level title, you need a higher level wardrobe to match. The drugstore makeup gets replaced by Sephora. The perfectly fine apartment suddenly feels a little too cramped, so you upgrade to a place with better natural light and nicer countertops. The standard gym membership gets upgraded to a boutique fitness studio. Every single time your income takes a step forward, your lifestyle takes a step forward to match it. The luxury of yesterday quietly becomes the bare minimum necessity of today. If you do not know how to manage the psychology of a $50,000 salary, handing you a $100,000 salary will not magically fix your life. It will only give you the capacity to create much more expensive, much more stressful problems. You won't be rich, you will just be broke at a higher tax bracket. The horizon of enough just keeps moving further and further away, and you are left exhausting yourself running after a finish line that doesn't exist. The casino is designed for you to lose. The frictionless payments, the subscription models, the endless pressure to upgrade your aesthetic to match your income, it is all a perfectly engineered system working against you. Which means, if you actually want to build wealth and keep the money you make, you cannot just try to be better. You cannot rely on a spreadsheet. You have to actively break the system. You have to learn how to aggressively re-engineer your environment to make it actively difficult to give your money away. We have established that you cannot out-willpower a billion-dollar algorithm, and you cannot spreadsheet your way out of biological exhaustion. So, we are going to stop trying. To beat a rigged casino, you don't sit at the blackjack table and try to play with more discipline. You walk out the front doors, lock them from the outside, and refuse to play their game. You need to completely re-engineer your financial ecosystem. You need to take the friction that is currently keeping you broke and reverse it. I call this the friction shift protocol, and it relies on 3 highly actionable, non-negotiable steps. Step 1, the day zero transfer. Remember the concept of ego depletion? The fact that your willpower battery is completely dead by the time you get off work? The friction shift requires you to accept that reality. You must assume that at 7 p.m. you will have zero discipline. Therefore, you must remove willpower from the equation entirely. Right now, your paycheck lands in your primary checking account. Your brain logs in, sees a large temporary number, and immediately categorizes that entire amount as available to spend. It looks at that number and thinks, great, I can finally buy that gorgeous wool coat for the winter capsule wardrobe, and I can afford to order sushi tonight. You have to blindfold your brain. Tomorrow morning, you are going to set up an automated transfer that triggers on the exact same day your paycheck hits, not 3 days later. Not at the end of the month when you see what's left over. Day zero. You are going to take 10% of your income, or 5%, or whatever you can manage, and automatically route it to a completely different banking institution. Not a different folder in your current app. A completely separate bank with a different login and a different password. If you log into your daily checking account and you physically do not see the money, your brain cannot factor it into your aesthetic lifestyle upgrades. You cannot spend what does not exist in your immediate reality. You are forcing your savings to happen when your willpower is at 100%, before you even wake up. Step 2. Reverse engineering friction. The system keeps you broke by making spending frictionless and saving painful. We are going to flip that upside down. We are going to reintroduce the pain of paying. I want you to sit down at your computer tonight and ruthlessly delete every single saved credit card number from Google Chrome, Safari, and Apple Pay. Unlink your cards from your favorite online boutiques, from Amazon, and from your food delivery apps. Strip the Novocaine out of your financial life. From now on, you operate on the physical card rule. If you see a targeted ad for a stunning, neutral-toned matching set, and you feel that massive rush of dopamine telling you that you must have it, you are allowed to buy it. But to do so, you have to physically stand up, walk to the other side of your apartment, dig through your bag, find your physical wallet, pull out the plastic card, and manually type in the 16-digit number, the expiration date, and the CVV code. Typing those numbers takes about 45 seconds. 45 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but in the realm of neuroscience, it is an eternity. It is exactly enough time for your prefrontal cortex, your logical brain, to reboot, step in, and ask, wait, do we actually need another beige sweater? Are we just exhausted from work? Are we buying this to feel better? By introducing just a tiny bit of physical annoyance, you break the hypnotic trance of the impulse buy. And for larger purchases, you are going to implement the 48-hour cart quarantine. You are still allowed to shop online. You are still allowed to curate the perfect cart. You can browse all evening, select your items, and put them in your digital basket. But you are absolutely forbidden from clicking the checkout button for 48 hours. Remember, dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It spikes when you put the item in the cart. Let the dopamine spike. Enjoy the high of the window shopping. But let the item sit there until the dopamine inevitably crashes. 2 days later, when your brain chemistry has stabilized and you look at that cart again, I guarantee you that 90% of the time the spell will be broken. You will close the tab and the money will stay in your account. Step 3. Ruthless aesthetic curation. Traditional budgeting fails because it operates exactly like a crash diet. It tells you to eat nothing but plain chicken and broccoli, to stop buying coffee, to never eat at restaurants, and to wear the same cheap clothes every day. It demands absolute deprivation. And what happens when you strictly deprive a human being of all joy? They binge. You restrict yourself for 3 weeks, and then you have one terrible day at the office, snap, and spend $400 online in a fugue state. Stop trying to spend less on everything. That is a recipe for miserable burnout. Instead, I want you to practice values-based auditing. I want you to sit down and identify the 1 or 2 things in your life that genuinely bring you deep, lasting fulfillment. Maybe you deeply value high-quality fashion. You love beautiful textiles. You love feeling effortlessly styled, and fashion is a core part of your self-expression. Or maybe you value high-end fitness classes because they keep you sane. Or maybe it's traveling. Whatever your 1 or 2 things are, I want you to spend your money there unapologetically. Buy the expensive coat without guilt. But, and this is the absolute most critical part of the shift, you must become utterly ruthless, almost sociopathic, about cutting costs on everything else that you do not care about. If you care about fashion but you don't actually care about cars, drive a boring 10-year-old vehicle until the wheels fall off. If you care about living in a beautiful, light-filled apartment, then stop spending $30 a day on premium takeout and learn to meal prep basic ingredients. You cannot have the luxury aesthetic in every single category of your life. That is the lie that Instagram sells you. The people who look like they have it all are either in crippling debt or they are intensely curating what you see. When you stop bleeding money on the things you are indifferent to, you suddenly have an abundance of cash to fund the things you actually love. You stop feeling deprived, which means you stop the financial binging. You shift from being a passive victim of the algorithm to becoming the ruthless editor of your own life. Let's be brutally honest about the word saving. If you are like most people, the very concept of saving money triggers an immediate negative emotional response. Deep down, you view saving as a punishment. You view it as a restriction on your current joy, a penalty you have to pay for your past financial mistakes. It feels like you are acting as your own strict parent, taking your hard-earned money away from yourself and locking it in a dark room where you can't touch it. And as long as you frame saving money as a punishment, you will eventually rebel against it. You will sabotage yourself because human beings are biologically wired to escape pain and seek comfort. I need you to undergo one final massive paradigm shift. I need you to completely change how you view the money sitting in your bank account. Stop looking at money as a scorecard of your success. Stop looking at it as a coupon you trade for physical objects or social status. Money is a battery for autonomy. When you set up that automated transfer, when you refuse to buy the impulse item at 11:30 at night, when you finally lock your money away in an account you cannot easily access, you are not hoarding digital paper. You are not depriving yourself. You are buying options. When you have 3 months of living expenses sitting in a bank account, your entire relationship with the world changes. You are buying the freedom to look a toxic, abusive boss in the eye and say, "I quit," without panicking about how you are going to pay your rent on the first of the month. You are buying the ability to safely pack up your things and walk away from a bad relationship. You are buying the peace of mind to stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. and actually sleep, instead of running the terrifying mental calculus of how you are going to afford groceries next week. We spend so much time and energy trying to buy the aesthetic of a peaceful, put-together life. But the ultimate luxury aesthetic is not a minimalist apartment. It is not a tailored wardrobe. The ultimate luxury in this world is an unbothered nervous system. It is the quiet, unbreakable confidence of knowing that no matter what emergency life throws at you, you have the resources to handle it. You don't have to tolerate disrespect from anyone because you have bought your own autonomy. That is what you are fighting for. You aren't fighting to balance a spreadsheet. You are fighting to take back your life from a system that wants you perpetually stressed, perpetually exhausted, and perpetually broke. So here is my final challenge to you. Do not just close this video and let this be another piece of self-improvement content that you passively consume and immediately forget. Take one action right now. Open your web browser, go to your settings, and delete every single saved credit card. Introduce the friction. Take back your control. Because the moment you stop letting billion-dollar companies dictate how you spend your money is the exact moment you start dictating how you spend your time. Take your power back. I'll see you in the next one.